Let's talk about President Trump. Do you feel like your positions and policy statements are in line with President Trump?
Yes, I hope so.
Do you love inflation?
I love ending Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon. I think that's existential.
Thank you.
For
that
our
was
future.
not my question. Do you love inflation, yes or no?
I love ending Iran's.
That is not my question. Do you love inflation, yes or no?
No, I would prefer lower inflation.
You would prefer low inflation. Do you know that your boss, essentially President Trump, just stated that he loved inflation?
He's an entertaining, hyperbolic guy who's done tremendous leadership and on balance is driving inflation down.
So it sounds like you were unaware that President Trump just mentioned that he loved inflation, and I certainly don't want to get you in trouble with your boss, but it sounds like you don't love inflation, but he does. But let me ask you this other question. Are you aware that the United States was taking millions of barrels of gasoline from Iran in the Strait of Hormuz?
We are preventing the flow of Iranian oil through the Strait of Hormuz.
That is not the question that I just asked you. Were you aware that the United States has been taking millions of gallons of oil from the Strait of Hormuz?
I'm just not sure taking is the right word. We're preventing the flow of it.
Well, thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may, can I play some audio from some comments that President Trump made in the Oval Office? Okay.
The numbers were great.
I don't think we've heard this.
I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out
Let's suspend that,
barrels
please.
of oil. Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran until right now.
Mr. Secretary, it seems like you didn't know about this either. So why would the United States be taking out millions of barrels of oil from Iran?
Well, it's essential that we prevent oil sales from generating revenue for Iran to spend to develop nuclear weapons and oppress
Mr. Secretary, I understand this might be an uncomfortable line of questioning and you don't want to do it, but you are not answering my question. So I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to hope that you will answer it honestly. Did you know that the United States was taking millions of gallons of oil from Iran?
I'm unaware.
So do you think that the president is lying based on the audio that you just heard? And I will send it to you in case you say you didn't hear it.
Oh, no, I do not think the president's lying. I think the president's talking casually about our efforts to stop the flow of Iranian oil.
And war is casual? Do you think that it is appropriate to talk casually about war?
I think you talk to all different audiences and you talk in all different styles. But I don't have any serious objection to what he said.
You don't have any serious objection for someone talking about war casually? Do you have that objection? There are 13 service people who are dead. There are hundreds more that are injured, but we should be talking about war casually.
He treats this war deadly serious, and he has worked tirelessly on this war.
Mr. Secretary, you just said that he was speaking casually about this. He
speaks 20 hours a day. He speaks 20 hours a day in different styles for different audiences.
He is the President of the United States of America. He is the Commander of Chief who is responsible for 13 service members who have died and hundreds more who are injured. So you mean to say to me, testifying in front of this committee in the United States House of Representatives, that it is appropriate for the Commander of Chief to talk about war casually?
He speaks candidly, openly, and honestly. I think all of America benefits from that.
Well, I appreciate your attempt to protect your boss and to keep your job, but let me be very clear with you. It is not appropriate to talk about war casually. He is clearly keeping you in the dark about what he is doing in Iran. And now you are sitting here in this committee unaware that the president just made an announcement about millions of barrels that they have taken from Iran and stated in that very, very clearly, people don't know, but now we get to know it. But unfortunately, he sent you here and you didn't know it. What is your response to that?
I'm very proud to serve with President Trump. He's been tremendous leadership in a time of great stress right now. I'm proud of what he's doing, proud to be part of the team.
Well, I would not be proud if my boss sent me up Schitt's Creek and left me here in a committee without adequate information and speaking casually about war. That is a horrible place to be, and I'm so sorry that you have to defend that. That is beneath your honor.
and a woman's time has expired. I'd also
Well, wait till you hear what this guy has to say about the new inflation numbers. I'm talking, of course, about the new May inflation report, which just came out and showed another sharp rise in prices, a fact that will shock absolutely no one who has to buy anything these days. The Consumer Price Index report rose 4.2% in May from a year earlier. That's almost doubled since the Iran war started. It's bad. Now, if I were president, I'd be real worried about those numbers. I'd be freaking out trying to figure out how to fix it. But our president?
Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning. Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
Yeah, he did. He said that. I love the inflation. Why? Because it doesn't affect him at all. Because he's made $3 billion at least on the presidency since he came into office. So that spike right there, which is us not being able to pay for gas for our tanks, us not being able to afford our groceries, people not knowing how to pay their electricity bills, people choosing between health insurance and meals for their kids, that's a joke to him. So much so that we're about to strike Iran again. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed for 103 days straight. Emergency oil reserves are about to hit bottom of the barrel. Do you know what happens after that? Panic and fuel prices soaring more uncontrollably. So one more time, Donald Trump, how do you feel about this inflation?
I love the inflation. You know why?
I'll tell you why, and it's really this simple. Because it means more profits for the CEOs of the giant companies that put him into office. And if you're not angry about that, you really should be.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a headwind?
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now, something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now.
There's Donald Trump saying, I love inflation, love rising costs for Americans. Because today we learned that inflation is at 4.2%, the highest in 3 years, and he loves it. And of course, he promised us lower grocery prices, lower energy prices. That was determined to be a lie. And then the second part where he admits to criminal behavior, because he said the U.S. has been stealing oil from Iran. And follows it up with, nobody knows it. Well, Donnie, now everyone knows it because you just told the entire world. He told the press. He said it on camera before notifying Congress, before any legal authorization. He just admitted to stealing oil. So the man started a war, and the war caused inflation to go up. And now he's a thief as well. And when asked about the cost, he loves it. This is absolutely insane, but this is Donald Trump. We're going to see how that works in the midterm. But yes, inflation is up, and Donald Trump loves it.
Welcome to Truth Verdict. Today, we are talking about a statement that stunned many Americans and left political observers scratching their head. President Donald Trump, the man who spent years promising to destroy inflation, lower prices, rescue struggling families, and make America affordable again, has now reportedly said something that sounds completely opposite to everything he campaigned on. Credit goes to the original Stitches video creator, whose clip and commentary helped inspire this discussion.
Donald Trump finally said the quiet part loud, and unfortunately for America, the quiet part was not even quiet. It was standing in the middle of the room wearing a red hat, holding a gas receipt, and screaming. Asked about rising prices as inflation jumps during the Iran war, Trump said, I love the inflation. That is an actual sentence, not from a hostage note, not from a bad economic textbook written by a haunted toaster, from the President of the United States, the man who spent years promising he would destroy inflation on day one, lower prices immediately, save the American family, rescue the economy, fix the world, end the wars, and somehow also make shower pressure great again. Now prices are rising, oil is under pressure, families are hurting, and his message is, I love the inflation. You almost have to admire the honesty, because this may be the first time Trump has accidentally explained Republican economics correctly. He loves inflation. Of course he does. Inflation is great when you are Donald Trump. You do not stand in a grocery store comparing egg prices like you are negotiating a hostage release. You do not fill up your car and wonder whether the pump is trying to repossess your soul. You do not look at your rent, your insurance, your medicine, your electricity bill, and think, maybe dinner can just be sleep. Trump does not experience inflation. Trump observes inflation from a gold room, like a king watching peasants complain that the moat water is too expensive, and then he tried to clean it up by insisting that prices will come down once the Iran war ends. Oh, wonderful. That is comforting. Prices will come down when the war ends. That is like a doctor saying, your fever will go away once the house stops burning. Thank you, Dr. Trump. Very reassuring. And when does the war end? Tomorrow? 2 days? 3 days? Very soon? A beautiful deal, many people are saying, because Trump has been promising deals like a guy selling fake Rolex watches in Times Square. The deal is always coming. The solution is always around the corner. The prices will always drop later. The pain is always temporary, but the bill always arrives now. New reports say inflation rose above 4%, with one report putting annual inflation at 4.2% in May, its highest level in 3 years, as the Iran war drives energy costs higher and disrupts oil supplies. Energy costs are not some abstract number on a chart. Energy is gasoline, energy is shipping, energy is food delivery, energy is fertilizer, energy is airline tickets. Energy is everything that moves, grows, freezes, heats, cools, flies, drives, or sits on a truck long enough to become more expensive before it reaches your house. When energy spikes, America feels it everywhere, and Trump is acting like he found a coupon.
Guys, we have an inflation problem. According to the brand new numbers released today, inflation is now over 4%. That is a full percentage point higher than when President Biden left office, and the highest number we've seen in this country in more than 3 years. So how does President Trump explain it? Especially because he campaigned on getting prices down. Here's what he said today.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a
No, I love it.
for
The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
I have no idea why he said he loves inflation, and I'm not sure exactly what he thinks is great about these new numbers from his own government. But he went on to say, basically, that we should be happy because things could be worse.
And I said, you know, the bad part is the stock market will go down by a lot based on predictions of experts, like 25%. And it was worth it. To me, it was worth it not to have a nuclear weapon. And the other thing is that oil would go to $250 a barrel. It's at 85, and which is pretty amazing. And here's the key. We just hit today another stock market high.
The president is trying to argue the entire inflation problem we are now seeing is tied directly to the war with Iran, not to his policies about tariffs or any of his other policies. And because it's tied to the war with Iran, Trump believes he can get it under control quickly.
When it's over, you will see oil drop to where it was before. We were getting gasoline just before it started. I was in Iowa, and we passed gas stations, $1.85 a gallon. And we'll be back at those levels very soon.
Quick fact check here. Trump often cites this $1.85 gas number in Iowa. It's unclear where he's getting that number. When Trump was in Iowa on the trip he's talking about, which was in January, the average price for a gallon of regular gas in Iowa on that day was $2.57, according to AAA. Now, sure, some gas stations would be charging less than that, but Gas Buddy found just 4 stations in Iowa selling gas for under $2 on that day, and none of them were selling gas for $1.85. Separately, Trump claims that gas is the major cause of this inflation. That checks out. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics' brand new Consumer Price Index report released today, in the month of May, the increase in the cost of gasoline accounted for 60% of the overall increase in inflation. In fact, gasoline in the month of May was up more than 40% over May of last year and up a whopping 7% between just April and May of this year. Now, we know this war with Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is absolutely disrupting the entire global oil supply. But when it comes to oil prices, we've heard this story before. Historically, even when oil prices come down, it definitely takes time for gasoline prices at your local gas station to come down. So I'm not sure why he thinks they're going to drop like a rock. And the thing is, the strait still isn't open. But the president said this war would take between 4 to 6 weeks. We are now going on week 15. So there's no telling when this is going to be over or when pre-war gas prices are going to come back. In fact, Trump's own government is predicting that won't happen until well into 2027. But what the president isn't telling you is gasoline is not the only thing causing inflation. Something that has nothing to do with gasoline is also making life unaffordable for all of us. Shelter was up nearly 3.5% between May of this year and May of last year. Now, we all need a place to live, and we have been seeing consistent increases in the cost for shelter go up month after month, year after year. Now, one other thing I want to point out is something that indirectly is tied to oil and gas prices, which is food. Obviously, we all need to eat, and in order to get that food to your grocery store and to your local restaurant, that food needs to be transported by trucks, which run on gasoline. So that's one of the reasons why food costs are also up. According to the report, overall, food is up more than 3% between May of this year and May of last year. Specifically, the report found increases in 4 of the 6 major grocery store food groups. So more than half of them are up. They include non-alcoholic beverages like coffee and tea, cereals and bakery products, fruits and veggies, and meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. Now, there's one last important question in this story, and that is, what will the Federal Reserve do about this inflation that is now more than 2 percentage points above their target goal? The Fed is meeting next week, and it will be Trump's new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh's first official debut. Of course, Trump installed Warsh because Warsh said he favored cutting interest rates, which we know the president also wants to see. But with inflation sitting at double the Fed's target and definitely going in the wrong direction, no one believes we are going to see an interest rate cut anytime soon. And in fact, sometime this year, we may actually be looking at an interest rate hike.
Donald Trump, when asked today about what he thought about the numbers about inflation, Donald Trump goes, "I just love inflation. I just love those numbers." What? What, Donald, you said what? You said you love inflation. You just love those numbers. Donald, you do realize that inflation has increased 40% since you've taken over as president. It's 4.2%, the highest it's been in several years now. Donald, you do remember the campaign in 2024, and when all you could talk about was talking about the inflation under Biden, how high it was, how bad it was, how we needed to make things affordable, that affordability word that the Democrats made up, affordable, that you were going to bring gas down to $1.99 a gallon to make it affordable, that you were going to bring down grocery prices to make them affordable, how you're going to help improve the prices of everything to make everything affordable. Donald, when inflation goes up, most people don't love those numbers. Only people might love those numbers are billionaires that don't care about the prices. It doesn't mean anything to you. Only thing you care about is the stock market going up. Donald, why is that you're always so obsessed with the stock market going up? Does it have to do something with those 3,700 trades that you made this last quarter? And you really seem to be a genius about buying stocks just before major announcements come by your administration, and they increase greatly in value. How is that, Donald? Another whole story. We'll talk about that in another video. But Donald Trump today said, after running the whole last election about inflation and prices being too high, he loves inflation when his administration now has record inflation for the last 3 years. What do you think? You love the inflation like Donald does? I don't.
Donald Trump is cornered as a reporter asks him, "What do you think about inflation?" He says, "I love inflation. As a matter of fact, we're stealing oil from Iran."
To go and attack. So we hit him with the B-2 bombers.
What does that have to do with inflation at all? He's talking about B-2 bombers. How does it help Americans' financial situations? Oh, wait, this is the same president who said he does not care about Americans' financial situations. And we see by his answer here, if it does not affect Donald Trump, he simply doesn't even think twice about it. No, instead he brags about stealing oil from yet another country. And this time it's not Venezuela, it's Iran. And as he said earlier this year, Cuba's next, if he's even president that long, because he seems pretty stern on losing midterms. Speaking of Donald Trump's take on inflation, inflation, here's what Fox News had to say about what's actually happening in this economy that Trump said he loves, mind you. This is his own news station saying prices are skyrocketing for Americans at home. The president just said he loves it. Let's take a look at this clip to see the actual reality America is living in, aside from the reality Trump is trying to paint, which simply does not line up with everybody's bank accounts.
The 3.9%, jump for energy for the month of May is a core piece, and that is 60% of what we have seen in the increase that we're looking at, and the markets, of course, are reacting. A lot of this, Maria, as I send it back to you, can be tied to the fertilizer issues that we see coming out of the Middle East, those shipments, those prices. 10% of aluminum comes out of the Middle East. So that food price story.
So basically, first Trump crashes the economy with his tariffs to all countries in the world that does not bow to his will. Then he starts a war with Iran, which also increases inflation and the prices of everything in America as well. Now, when the price of oil goes up, that means the price of transportation for all goods goes up as well. That's why you're seeing the price of everything rise. That is how I understand it. That is the same price increase. You can go on Amazon. They have price trackers. You will see it in real time that the prices of everything has gone up. And Donald Trump just sat here and told us that he loves it, which is such a strange thing to say, because when he was campaigning to become the president, which he simply doesn't seem to care about anymore, he was saying he was going to end.
His words, I love inflation. Think about that for a moment. Not I hate inflation. Not we are working to bring price down. Not Americans are hurting and we need solutions. Instead, I love inflation. If true, that may be one of the most revealing statements ever made about how disconnected political allies can become from everyday struggling of ordinary citizens. And tonight, we are going to break it down exactly. The promise. For years, Donald Trump told Americans that inflation can destroy their lives. He blamed rising grocery price on his political opponents. He promised cheaper gas, cheaper food, low energy costs, a strong economy. He promised that relief will come quickly. Many voters believe him because they were desperate for change. Families were struggling. Rent was increasing. Insurance costs were climbing. Food prices were hurting household budgets. People wanted solutions. But now, inflation is rising again. Energy prices are under pressure, and uncertainty surrounding the conflicts involving Iran has created fear throughout global oil markets. And at the very moment Americans expected reassurance, they heard something entirely different. Let's be careful. Inflation is not just an economics terms economists throw around on television. Inflation is real life. Inflation means paying more for groceries. Inflation means spending more to fill your gas tank. Inflation means higher electricity bill, higher transportation costs, higher rents, higher insurance premium, higher costs for medicine, higher costs for nearly everything. When inflation rises, family does not suddenly receive large paychecks to compensate. Instead, they are forced to make different choices. Some cut back on entertainment, some postpone medical treatment, some delay repairs, some skip meals, some work multiple jobs. That is the reality of inflation on ordinary Americans. The truth is that inflation affects different people differently. A billionaire can absorb high price without changing his or her lifestyle. A wealthy politician can pay more for gasoline and barely notice. A millionaire can watch food price rise without worrying about whether there is enough money left for rent. But the average worker does not have that luxury. The average family notice every dollar. They notice every increase at grocery store, every increase at the gas station, every increase in utility bill. That is why a statement that appears on celebrate inflation can feel insulting to people already struggling to make ends meet. Recent economic concern has been tied to growing instability in energy markets. Whenever tension increases in major oil producing region, global market reacts. Oil price becomes volatile, shipping costs rise, transport becomes more expensive, and eventually consumers feel the impact. Everything becomes more costly because energy power nearly every part of human life. The truck that deliver food use fuel. The factory that produce goods use energy. The airline transporting goods use fuel. Farmer grow crop rely on energy. When energy costs rise, this increases triple through the entire economy, and consumers often end up paying the final bill. One of the most common political promises is that relief is coming soon. Politicians often tell citizens that today pain will lead to tomorrow prosperity. The problem is that families don't live in tomorrow, they live in today. Grocery bill arrives today, rent is due today, electricity bill comes today, gas tank needs filling today. Americans cannot pay today's bill with tomorrow promises. That is why many voters are becoming increasingly frustrated with political leaders across the nation. Perhaps the most important question is whether a politician talked wrongly. The bigger question is this: do American leaders truly understand what ordinary people are experiencing? Do they understand what it feels like to stand in a grocery store calculating every purchase? Do they understand what it feels like to choose between paying a bill and buying necessity? Do they understand what inflation actually means for working family? Because if they do understand and still celebrate rising price, this is troubling. And if they don't understand, that may be even more troubling. American economic challenge are not Republican problems. They are not Democrat problems. They are Americans' problem. Every family wants affordable goods, affordable housing, affordable energy, affordable health care, and every leader should focus on making life easier for the people they serve, not explaining why high price are somehow a good thing. The real verdict: America don't love inflation. Families don't love inflation. Workers don't love inflation. Retirees don't love inflation. Parents don't love inflation. The only person who can avoid to love inflation are the people who don't have to worry about it. And that's a conversation America needs to have. Before you go, let us know your thoughts in the comment. Do you believe American political leaders truly understand the financial struggling facing ordinary citizens? Having rise price affect your household budget, or over the last few years, what policies do you think will actually reduce the cost of living? If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure you smash this like button, share this video with your friends and family, subscribe to Truth Verdict, and turn on your notification so you won't miss the next episode. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always seek the truth. This is Truth Verdict.